What's good, my boy? Today's video is going to be, I hope, not a big ass ramble, but something that I've truly been trying to understand and think about deeply inside of myself. And like I said, this could just be one big giant ramble because I don't have the time to edit this video. But the premise is the two major, main important things that make you feel, not feel, make you actually grow and move forward as a person is self acceptance and self belief. Sorry, I got paint on my hands. But I'm going to talk about self belief later in the video because that is a topic that I believe can go full ramble. Just go off in the deep end of delusion. So I'll save that towards the end. But to start off with self acceptance, I'll first try to define what I understand it as and what I've thought it was in the past. So, self acceptance, in my understanding, is just, it goes against like certain movements that you see that are real prevalent now, like fat acceptance and all these things. It's more different areas that all culminate together. For me, or for people in general, this can be a numerous amount of things that you might have more acceptance over than others. It can be your personality, how other people perceive you, and how you come off to them as. Or that voice inside your head whenever you say something or whatever, you act out something, and you start being like, what the fuck? Do I sound like that? Do I look really like you start questioning that? That plays more into your personality. Then you have like things like physical appearance. And this is, for me, I'm going to list them off. But so you have the personality side. Then you have your physical, which can go along more into like the fat acceptance thing. But it's whatever physical formalities you've been given by whatever miraculous force, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, your mom, whatever. This can be genetics. This can be things you've done to yourself in the past that you have to fix. That's one thing for me. Just overall your physical appearance, from the way you look to your fucking fingernails. Whatever it is, with whatever little quirk it is, individual on the individual scale, is what I'm talking about whenever I say the physical acceptance. And then on the third side, I don't really know how to define this, but I'll explain kind of what I see it as. Is it's more of like your internal things that you like. This can be anything from like, if you think a thought and then you question why'd you even think that thought, or you find something interesting and you're like, why did I find that interesting? Or this is more of like a conscious acceptance, an acceptance of like your own. Maybe this gets a little bit schizophrenic right in here, but it's more of an, I feel like people can understand what I'm saying. It's more of like a inside of your own head. So you got like personality, which is like how you come across to other people and how you think you come across. You have the physical, which is just your body. And then you have like a conscious acceptance of like this own turmoil in your own head. Now, to explain why it's so important, we can talk about things like buzzwords that people use, like confidence, self-esteem. Those are the major two that come to the top of my head. For me, I've struggled with all three of these. And I'm just now getting to the point where I feel like I'm moving forward. And the weirdest thing is I've thought that I was moving forward several times in the past, but it didn't last very long, my thought, because I realized very quickly what I was doing. So in the past, most of my like teenage years, I feel like were not wasted, but I did a lot of things that I wish I hadn't. And I can't change that, so I don't really think about it much. But that's just to give a synopsis of my life. I played video games for a majority of the time and didn't spend it on anything productive, any skills or anything. I feel like that's a normal thing nowadays. I smoked weed almost 24/7 as much as I could to cure this thread of time. So many people consume drugs because they are bored and just for stupid reasons self-medicating, because time is painful and they're bored and they want to time skip. Even though now it's crazy to me to think back about this because I feel like we don't have enough time. So I'm doing everything I can to utilize it. But those are two major things, as well as I was 150 pounds heavier than I am now. So I severely ruined that physical side. I have loose skin, stretch marks, and a couple health problems to blame on that. But I finally broke out of this because one day whenever I was 17, I woke up and I never knew I had this, but an autoimmune disorder that was like dormant through testosterone or growing puberty, whatever you want to call it, just sparked. And then being overweight on top of that, just like engulfed it and inflamed this thing where I just randomly started getting like abscesses on my body. Anywhere from like my face to everywhere else on my fucking body. Arms, just weird shit. I felt like a fucking freak. I kind of felt like the Elephant Man. Me talking to you right now will go more towards this self-acceptance. But in the moment, I pushed everybody away. This is a very short time frame. I'm going to explain it. I pushed everybody away, and I just dove straight into these things that I felt good. I felt that I liked doing, that I was pleasing myself, which was weed and distractions and video games and just everything that I could do to cut it off. I isolated myself from certain people, and I kind of made them feel like I didn't give a fuck about them and ruined relationships because of this. And then after I got over this, which lasted certain aspects of this, like ruining the relationships and shunning people off, lasted for like a year plus. But I finally realized that, alright, dog, real life has hit me. Before this point, I was in complete comfort. I was just lounging around. I had no foresight for anything for the future. My future outlook was how I could stay in my parents' house, smoking weed, playing video games with my friends all day. That was my forelook for the future. It was like the most terrifying thing ever whenever someone would ask me, what do you want to do what do you want to do in college? I was like, I don't know. I have like a fucking guitar in the corner. That's the only thing I know how to do at all. And I'm not that good at it. That was my thought at that time. So I dive head first into like all this like online self-improvement shit. And it was a slow burn at first, but once it really caught on and the fire started burning, I went so obsessive with this shit. And this gets on back to the self-acceptance part. I thought then that I was going towards self-acceptance, but I was still running away from the self-acceptance of thinking that I was a freak. That was what I was thinking in my brain. I'm a freak. That was my mindset. I was running away from this by overworking myself or trying to be like, hey, dog, look what I'm doing. Look what I'm doing. Look what I'm doing. I'm not a freak. Look what I'm doing to myself. This is like the craziest fucking shit, because part of me was doing this to outside people for like the reason of like your parents being like, what are you doing for school? What are you thinking? Some of it was for that reason, but a majority of it was just to like create an image in my own head that I was like enough. And that lasted literally up until like fucking 6 months ago, for like 2.5, 3 years. And it got a little bit better here and there. I hit some points where I felt proud. I was like, hey, I am enough. And then it would fade away. And then about 6 months ago, it culminated into where I got more manageable on this disease. A year and some change before that, I had lost all the weight. I had gotten some things done, but I still just did not feel enough. And then I finally realized what I was doing because of this disease. And a bunch of other elements like the weight and shit like that. And then I just started realizing I haven't accepted myself at all. I still look in the mirror and feel severely unsatisfied. Like, if I look at myself right and I get like a little bit of bicep in it, I can be like, oh, and then it fades away once I go unflexed. So that was one key moment, like about 6 months ago, when I was like, all right, I'm not getting fucking anywhere besides like things that I don't really even care about. Like losing the weight was nice. It was a lifestyle change, something that needed to be done. Building discipline was something that needed to be done. But I truly hadn't fulfilled this like hole inside of me. So I start diverging completely into this hustle culture shit of like try to be a millionaire online business, that type of thing. And along the way I picked up a couple hobbies, in the sense of I picked back up my guitar and fell in love with making music. I picked up a paintbrush and fell in love with painting. And then I had like 4 things going at once where I'm like, being a general contractor building houses to sustain myself financially. Painting, doing oil paintings, making these videos, 350 pieces of content a week, trying to do as much as I possibly could to please myself, and then doing music. And all of them were pulling on each other because I was doing them with consistency and discipline that I thought was getting myself further with accepting myself. But I wasn't doing them all to the maximum, to the quality I could, because it was all just quantity mindset. If I can keep doing more and more and more and more, then I'll be enough. Then I won't be a freak, blah, blah, blah. And that all kind of came to a head about a month ago, so 6 months forward to a month, where I've gotten very skilled with my general contracting business and feel just like I could fucking build, not anything, but I could make this a very, very successful real life thing. My oil painting, I've gotten very skilled in it, and my music, I've gotten to the point where I'm very skilled in it. I've gathered all these skills, but I was like, I still don't feel like I'm enough. What the fuck? And then it clicked inside of my head. I'm like, I realized back then that I was running away from these problems by overworking myself. Why don't I continued that for like that whole 6 month stint until a month ago, where then I just started discovering balance and quality more, and I started implementing this. I started reflecting deeply into myself, where I actually started gaining ground. Like, I'm still not fucking perfect by any means, but man, this last month I've had is like the best like month I've had in like the longest I can remember. Just not because anything has came into my life, not because I've introduced anything new. It's just because I've sat down and I've evaluated my present moment, and I've just moved pieces and aligned them almost not perfectly, but where I feel is very, very comfortable. And now I just actually feel like fulfilled every single day. I feel confident every single day. I rarely find myself questioning things like I would every other fucking minute back then. I feel clear-minded, and it's just all of it is a result in tediously being consciously aware of what I'm doing at every moment. And the craziest thing is, like, you see all these self-improvement people be like, oh, dude, you got to quit this, and put these habits in there, and this is how you get happy. But it's not like that, bro. It's very individual. Everybody is super unique whenever it comes to this, because everybody has unique fucking problems. Everybody's situation is different. And that brings us into the self-belief. So you can hear the greatest minds in anything tell you that they still doubt, and they still have moments where they're just like unsure. Think of it as like David Goggins being like, I've done this running shit for however long, and I still sometimes take 20 minutes to put my shoes on in the morning because I don't want to run. I know it's a little bit of a different analogy, but that applies here. You can hear some of the greatest painters say this. You can hear some of the greatest musicians have self-doubt. There is no such thing as like a golden point. In this self-improvement shit in life, people try to aspire to a level of perfection, a point. Now, I don't think aspiring to perfection is bad as long as you realize this thing. There is no perfection. Perfection is a crafted idea in your brain of something that you are viewing from one angle and not all these things. Whenever you say, I want to be like this person, you're saying, I want to be like this person in a specific point in time that I saw them and that they put out an image into the world that I saw. It's not that you want to be them 24/7, because if you saw the 24/7 mental, if you could see inside of their brain, fucking Professor Xavier read their mind 24/7, you would be like, nah, bro, I'm good. I'll figure my own thing out, dog. I don't want that shit. That's how it comes down to. So let's get into self-belief, which is the tool to self-acceptance. Self-belief really relies on faith. We see lots of religions based on faith and how effective of a tool this is. I'm not going to get into my religion because I'm not going to get pushy, but it has been a powerful tool to me and millions, hundreds of millions of people in the past, future, and present. It will always be a powerful tool because faith is so useful in the sense that if you can take your mind and convince yourself that there's a possibility out there of whatever, and that as long as you believe in it, that is true, you can convince yourself that this is the case, which you can 100% convince yourself with how complex the mind is, then you won't get distracted, you won't fall down, you won't have all these things as often. And there is no perfection point, so there will be times where you change your views, change your perspectives, change your beliefs. But for the most part, if you have a true self-belief, this will happen less often. So when we talk about self-belief on the individual scale, we have to ask ourselves, what is possible for me? And for me, this is where it gets into ramble, it gets into delusion. I truly have achieved this mindset, this Kanye mindset, if you want to call it this sought after thing of I truly believe anything is possible. We can talk about that monetarily. We can talk about that with what we achieve in life. I'm not talking about I believe I can fucking fly. I mean, if you ask me the question, my brain, the way it's convinced itself with self-belief and self-confidence, is that I would try to create an answer that makes sense around that. Like, oh, I could go on a fucking airplane, or I could get in, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if that makes sense. But once you develop this through self-acceptance, which transfers into self-belief, and they kind of go hand in hand, it's truly almost like unlocking your mind. It's like, it's the most useful tool you can possibly have. If you question yourself on a social setting, if you should do this, if you can do this, if you nervous, blah, 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 all that goes out the window, because once you have the self-belief, it's kind of a selfish thing, but you start being like, I don't give a fuck, bro. I'll just be myself in front of anybody. You get this like abundance mindset. It's kind of like a pickup artist term, that type of shit. But if you get like an abundance mindset towards life in general, everything just opens up. You no longer have these struggles that I've struggled with in the past of like self-esteem, anxiety, all these fucking stupid words. Because I just truly don't give a fuck. There is no bottled up, anxious, like, I can't catch my breath bullshit no more, bro. It is just peace. It really, that's the best way to describe it, is peace. When something comes into your mind, you're not held at gunpoint or fucking like you're cornered by all these self-doubt and different things telling you the opposite. It's just kind of like you get the thought, you think about it for a second, and you're like, yeah, go do it. I remember I literally used to be I used to lack so much peace that I would feel weird going to the fucking grocery store or the gym. I knew I was going to do the gym every single day. I knew I would go there by myself. I knew I had to go to the fucking grocery store by myself. All these, it sounds so fucking crazy to say it now because of how different I think. But it's like, I would hesitate in so many of these situations, and then whenever I would inevitably do them, I'd be like, why do I hesitate? This is so fucking annoying. Why do I do this in my own head? Because I'm fine right now. And then I would repeat this cycle over and over and over. And then I'm finally, after all this shit that's happened, it's just like peace. It's like I feel so comfortable. I don't think about anything. I could make a fucking 30-minute video that millions of people could possibly see. In the past, I would have to curate and edit and do all these things because what if this person sees it and what if this... I don't give a fuck, bro. It's a moment in time that this is how I was thinking. If it's rambled nonsense, oh well. That it's just having that peace and clarity of mind to be able to do whatever comes into your head and enact it without any resistance like that. There's still resistance to a degree, but it's amazing. I'll just say that it's really just beautiful. And again, there is no perfection. There is no perfection. This state that I've been in for like the past month will probably go down. I'm not gonna speak that into existence, but it probably will go down where I will hit another purgatory, if you will, and have to create and evolve further. And that's kind of how these things work. It's kind of like prestiging. Whenever I used to play Call of Duty, you would get to a level and then reset back to the beginning, but it'd be easier to get back to the top. This is how all this shit works, is like on a prestige basis. It's like you get back to the top, or you get to this peak. You get to something that feels like a peak to you. And then you spend a little bit time up there, and then you get bored again, and you start back down at this like exciting, adventurous stage to find out how you're going to get to the next higher peak. But you're back down here. So, I'm not going to continue rambling on and on and on. I'll leave you with this. For like financial people and people who struggle with that, artists of the sort, I do oil paintings and shit like that. I make music, all these things that have the possibility to make money, right? As well as construction. I got to bid jobs and shit like that. Do not sell yourself short at all, bro. I want you to think, for me, I'm going to use the artist as an example. I've seen people who charge like $300 for a painting, which if you're broke, that might sound like a lot. Motherfuckers, most good artists that are threshold level successful sell paintings for $20,000+. Basquiat paintings were going for $20,000 back in the 80s. And you're like, how? Think about it like this, and you can apply this with any entrepreneurial journey whatsoever. People buy Rolexes for $40,000. People buy watches that are more than people's net worths. People buy cars that are more money than you would ever expect to earn in a fucking lifetime. People buy stupid shit. People spend $50,000. I saw this art piece on a fucking colored banana. So don't ever sell yourself short. Have this abundance mindset with everything and a self-belief, and you can do anything, bro. You really can. And you're like, how? You're not giving me any tips. I will not give you any fucking tips. Do the hard work. Reflect inwards on yourself and do all the other shit you know you're supposed to do. Like following your passion and your interests that are unique to you. Have a fucking exercise regimen to keep yourself in shape. Don't eat like shit. There's just fucking no-brainer activities that so many self-improvement yada YouTube channels preach, and it's fucking not needed, bro. We don't need 1,000 people telling you to get a fucking job and start working hard. Some people are gonna do it. Just let the other ones fucking fail or figure it out on their own. Just how shit goes, bro. Chase paper, enjoy nature, old son. Have the abundance mindset. Learn how to accept yourself and develop self-belief. Have a good one.